is the greatest moment in my life.
Yo!
Hello.
Hello! Magsy, how you doing, my friend? You all right?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, excited to be back doing chain wrestling live.
Yeah, good. That almost sounded sarcastic at the beginning, but you pulled out the bag.
I mean, is it ever not sarcastic when I say I've enjoyed something?
I am loving the NWO Wolfpack t-shirt you are rocking this evening, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic stuff.
Throw
right
them
up my
up.
street. Yes, indeed. And you can hear all about the NWO on the Nitro Nights podcast on this.
So you weren't paying me a compliment in the slightest. It was, I can segue to that.
Mate, I'm all about the cheap plugs. All about the cheap plugs. Ah, there we go. Yes, this is going to be an interesting episode of Chain Wrestling because I think after we've covered our match, there is so many ways we can link and go to with all these different people that are involved. I'm more interested to find out where we go next week than I am watching what we've watched this week.
Well, I mean, temper your expectations. It could be quite terrible.
It could indeed. We've also got an excellent non-wrestling topic as well, which always, starts off conversations because it's people's preferences on different movies and whatever. That's always entertaining for me anyway, to hear what people think about these many movies that I won't have seen.
Yeah, exactly. Entertaining to add to the list of films that I haven't seen it. And just as Connor has said, he's still waiting for the I haven't seen it chain wrestling t-shirt. I've been asking for a while. It's time to give the people what they want. And that is also a segue because Connor commented that on one of our very first YouTube shorts that we're starting to put together, little clips from the show. I'll be going up during the week and to get your daily chain wrestling fix.
Very loosely said, these chain wrestling shorts are going up on the YouTube channel that we've created. That's a very loose terminology, isn't it? Because it's not we at all, Maxie. It's all you. Well, and it wasn't until literally
you are involved.
Well, my face is on the screen, but it was like 5 to 9 when we sat down to go live. I found out that the 2 had gone up because I had no notifications or anything from my stupid bloody phone. So I've not even seen them yet.
I mean, you don't want to. One of them is mocking you incessantly.
I did have a feeling that would be the vibe you would go for more often than No. Okay. Well, you're missing the boat there. everyone gets involved with that, though, don't they? Mocking me, it's easy to do.
It's low hanging fruit. It's absolutely the lowest of low hanging fruit.
After 110 episodes, it's got that easy. You're not even going to bother anymore.
Yeah, so I'm just phoning them in nowadays. Don't even bother. This isn't even me. This is someone I've hired to pretend to be me.
Impersonate it, yeah.
This is the fake Mags.
The fake Mags. I wonder how long it took him to get that rough Blackburn accent sorted out.
I'll stab you.
Anyway, mate. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Sai, an SJP World Media production, as I just mentioned, episode 110. I am Sai, and with me, as always, is the Kenny to my need for a Rennie. Heartburn, mate, all the time because I'm getting old. Is that what he used to do?
I can't really remember. I've tried to wipe that period of wrestling out of my mind.
The Ron Simmons to my cheerleading villains, a podcaster who will always be part of a legendary team for me. But that's because I'm part of the team too, and we're both awesome, of course.
And we're both cheerleaders.
Well, kind of. Yeah, my skirt don't fit me as well anymore. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How's your week been, bird?
Yeah, it's been great. Watched Elimination Chamber. Thought that was a bloody good WWE pay-per-view.
Okay.
With bit of a bittersweet ending with Sami Zayn not being able to do the win over Roman Reigns, but I understand why. It's all about the Cody and Roman. But yeah, I thought it was a really good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it?
No, I have. Most of it. I skipped through some of it because I was only really bothered about Sami versus Roman, to be fair. But I did skip through some of the parts and so on. So yeah, it was right. Sami Roman was fantastic anyway. That's the main thing I was interested in. That's what got my eyes on the network.
Very
So I suppose,
Daniel Bryan-esque.
Yes, except without the happy ending.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming now he's then going to just team up with Owens and face the Usos at Mania, maybe.
I mean, that's what makes sense.
You think so?
With the Jimmy and Jay interference in the match, that looks like where they're going to lead to.
Yeah, could be Bloodline breaking up a little bit further. Then I suppose the Usos might split as well, and
it's all going south.
Yeah.
I've got to give WWE props. So this Bloodline storyline and this arc has been some of the best stuff that they've produced in a decade. Easily.
Yes, it's brilliant television. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I mean, first of all, we'll dive into the chat, shall we? See who's joined us and what they're saying. But also, if people have seen the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and have any thoughts on the Bloodline storyline and all that sort of stuff. And now we're, the next big pay-per-view or premier live event or whatever shite they're calling it now is, of course, WrestleMania. Where do we think we're going? Yeah, point at the sign. That's it. Yeah.
So first in the chat was Connor. Hello, Mags and Sarah. How are we this far Monday? And then he followed it up with the request for a T-shirt that you still haven't fulfilled. King's Pigs Bladders in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? And here we go. It would not be an episode of Chain Wrestling without this comment. It's Monday night. You know what that means.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Cam Griffin in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? I don't know where my brain was going then. Dan Griffin, evening all. Hello, sir. And he says, all those links to matches and Sar will still pick a Barry Windham match. That's the thing. Because there's so many twists and turns, he can link to something from the 80s WCW or the Jim Crockett promotions, or he'll link it to Barry pissing Windham.
It's funny you should mention. No, we'll talk about it later.
Wrestling Jeebus in the house. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Cam still wants a Gilbert match. We are going to have to do a Gilbert special one of these days.
Is there enough there?
We could just watch the best of Gilbert. I'm sure there's a YouTube video of 3 or 4 minutes long. A YouTube short. There'll be a YouTube short of the best of Gilbert.
It'll be made by Cameron, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, so he'll be able to tell us exactly what goes on in it. Dan says he had to tell Sar how to set up a Skype call to record on Saturday, despite him recording it every week.
Okay, now hang on. That's not the whole story. Okay. When I use Skype to record, I'm talking to one other person. On this occasion, for the Doctor Who pod, there was a guest, and I was in like a group chat thing, and everyone was kind of just waiting to start the call. I didn't realize they were waiting for me to start the call. That was the thing.
But would you start the call if there was just you and somebody else?
I don't know. Can you add people to that?
No. What I'm saying is, if you and Dan were just having a Skype call, a recording, would you click record?
Yeah, well, and I click record, and away we go. Yeah.
Right. So why does that change if there's guests?
No, because we weren't in a call yet. We were just in like a little chat group thingy on Skype. The call hadn't started. Okay. See,
that's bad. But then you didn't know how to record.
No, I knew how to record. Let's move on.
Cam says it perfectly. Recording. Well, if he isn't, Cam, he's done well pulling those Doctor Who pods out of his arse. It's just Sar re-listening to his calls and just doing a really good Dan impression.
Just reciting it all back.
And Cam says it's Sar. He must just use his time machine to go back and piece the madness together. I mean, that's podcasting in general. It's just piecing the madness together. Late comer, Scottish Danny. Hello, sir. How are you? Can't wait for you to get into the ruthless aggression legends that are the spirits. God, fuck off, Daniel. I am not having them. I am not excited. Listen, I hate to burst your bubble, Scottish Daniel, but the Spirit Squad are not legends. There is one potential legend in there, and the rest are just tosspots. sorry to ruin the surprise for you. Connor asked, did they get rid of the Fastlane pay-per-view? Yeah, I think Fastlane's one of those names that keeps switching in and out of pay-per-views, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just Mania now, I think, isn't it?
King's Pig's Bladder with a spoiler. Jay has got to cost Roman the title at Mania. I mean, I know we got Jay versus Roman at the beginning of this whole storyline, but it must lead to Jay versus Roman again. It must do. Yeah. Dan Griffin, when my mouse decides to work, says Bloodline story has been cinematic at times. Fingers crossed he gets to 1,000 days and keeps Cody in the mid card where he belongs. Come on, Cody is America.
Fuck yeah.
He's got to. He's got to win. He's pointing at that sign at WrestleMania so many times. He has to win now. And
that's how they're going to decide, isn't it? That's how they decided between Sammy and Cody about who was going to go to Mania and do this. Who pointed at the sign the hardest?
The most. Yeah. Just who was the last person to point to the sign? That's what it were.
Yeah. That's WWF's booking strategy for the last 20 years or whatever.
Exactly. Dan Griffin says, yes, Sa would start the recall if it was just me and Sa. Exactly. See, so it was a you problem, Sa. And
okay. And it was, yes.
This bloody mouse. Then he says, Sa's time machine surely has to be called the Who Are This. Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. SJP t-shirt right there, Sa. Very, very true. And then Sharon complimenting Dan Griffin on his dig at the Glasters.
At the Glasters, yes, indeed. Who are this? That sounds good, yeah. Maybe something like that will pop up. Who knows?
That should be the name of an episode.
Should it?
Yeah.
They filmed in Gloucester. They are filmed in Gloucester. They used the cathedral.
Was everywhere else busy?
Yes. Everywhere else in the whole world.
In the whole world. They ticked everywhere off. Like, fuck, we're going to have to go to Gloucester.
That's it. You're such a prick. Shall we get on, Magsy, and chuck some absolute dog dirt into the Hall of Lane?
We shall.
The Hall of Lame indeed. Lame indeed. What you got for us, Mags?
So, just for a little peek behind the curtain, I actually had to message Sa today to find out if my Hall of Lame nominee was already put in. Because for those who don't know, Sa has an Excel file with all the records of chain wrestling on it, but he's not updated it in 6 months. So
what's the last episode on there? Like episode 60 something, isn't
it? It's not. I think I've been back about 4 weeks.
Okay. So
it's a long time.
Yeah. Okay. I should get on that.
Yeah, maybe. You're not going to do that yet.
Probably not.
So luckily, the gimmick hasn't gone into the Hall of Lame, and I don't know how. Considering I've mentioned a little snippet of it in a Hall of Lame entry before. So for those who've been listening for a while, they'll know that I put in the World Bodybuilding Federation into the Hall of Lame, and the big kind of poster boy for that was Lex Luger, obviously. Now the WBF was very short-lived, and a lot of that was because Lex Luger had a motorcycle accident and he wasn't able to be the face of the promotion. And by the time he came back from his injury, it had been wrapped up. So he was given a new gimmick for his WWF wrestling debut, one that was come up with by Pat Patterson. Funnily enough, you can see the Pat Patterson influences in it straight away. It's the narcissist Lex Luger. Now, the narcissist was a guy who was absolutely in love with every facet of himself. He wore tasseled shorts. He had a body of a Greek god, which fair play to Lex. He did have the look. He was a great looking specimen of a man. He debuted at I think it was the 1993 Royal Rumble, and it gets comical because he's partnered up with Bobby Heenan at this time. He's kind of half manager, half spokesperson for the Narcissist, and Bobby, the star that he is, eggs it up so much in being so lavish with the praise to the Narcissist that he gives him a virtual gobble in this segment.
He is brilliant, one, isn't he? He's absolutely fantastic.
The Narcissist only really had one major feud, and that was with Mr. Perfect, and that was centered around Bobby Heenan when he called the Narcissist Beyond Perfection, which caused ructions with Mr. Perfect. But yeah, the gimmick was just a muscly guy in absolute love with himself. He would bring out mirrors to matches to pose in front of, and it was pretty much Lex Luger in real life turned up to 11. It was just a ridiculously I love myself and I'm the best thing in the world gimmick. Luckily, it didn't last that long because he, whilst on the road, he received a call from Vince McMahon and was told to return to Stamford immediately. Luger asked Vince if his job was in jeopardy, and Vince said, no, we're just dropping the Narcissist gimmick and you will be being repackaged as an all-American hero. So thankfully, Vince did pull the trigger on getting rid of a crap gimmick and got rid of the Narcissist Lex Luger. So he's my entrant in this week's Hall of Fame.
Oh, there we go. See, I loved Luger when he debuted. I thought this guy's, because he, 1993, I was 12. Mm-hmm. So I was buying into, Bobby Heenan promoting this guy. I thought he looked amazing and all this sort of stuff. I thought, oh, who's this new wrestler debuting and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, it fell apart very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of seal on the fate of the Narcissist was when he had the match at WrestleMania 9 against Mr. Perfect, and it was awful. It was a horrible match, and Luger pinned the blame on it being awful, saying that Mr. Perfect forgot how the match was meant to go and that it had to be called on the spot. Mr. Perfect, arguably one of the best in-ring technicians of all time, did a 5-star classic match with a broken coccyx, and yet he couldn't. It was his fault that him and Lex Luger had a bad match. All shenanigans on that one, Lexi boy.
I'm buying that one, Lex. Obviously, Luger now, he's a different person, isn't he? He's apparently a much nicer person to get along with. He admits how bad he behaved back in the day and so on. I wonder if you asked him about that now, if he would still give the same response, or if he would just own up to the fact that, he wasn't very good.
He probably would. He's probably made amends for his attitude over the years.
Yeah. Luger, Hall of Fame worthy?
I don't think so. I mean, he's had a great career. He never could quite get to the top of the mountain at the biggest company out there. And if you judge him on in-ring, his early career was fine. We've watched some all-right matches with him in the early days of WCW and Jim Crockett, but he was very limited in the ring, I think. And it was he coasted his whole career on his looks, on the fact that he was this muscly guy, and I found him to be a charisma vacuum. There was never anything that drew you in terms of his personality. It was all the look. So for me, I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy. He's definitely Hall of Lame worthy, especially the Narcissist.
I don't know. The Narcissist obviously didn't. It's Hall of Lame worthy, of course. Lex Express for a certain period of time though was the biggest thing they had.
Yeah, did I put in the Lex Express? No, I didn't.
I'm just talking about Luger Hall of Fame
Lex
worthy.
Express comes next time.
Okay, but Luger in '96 that we're watching now on Nitro Nights is doing some really good stuff, really good stuff. But again, fairly limited in the ring, but it's easy to see when Luger is motivated and when Luger is not. I think he's the most transparent performer that we've seen on a regular basis. And we've always seen the flick of a switch on Nitro Nights, Scottish Danny and I, and the people who are watching along with us, in that something has lit a fire under Luger in the last few Nitros, because he's completely different to what he was 3 months ago. And then there was a spell in the 80s where Luger was superb as well. But there's so many big gaps in between those good times.
Yeah. I mean, I've said a couple of times I've been on a WCW 2000s kick recently. And this is the time where Luger's partnering with Buff Bagwell as Totally Buffed.
Yes.
And there's so much of it that could be really good. But then there's so much of it that is fucking horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
So you are right. There is periods in his career where you can tell he's invested. It kind of reminds me of a less consistent Randy Orton, I suppose.
Okay, yeah.
You're right. He phones it in. He's Luger when he's not into the storyline, or he's not interested in what's going on in the wrestling world. He does kind of phone it in. But when he is invested, like he is with Totally Buff, you get some really good wrestling out of him, really good kind of like promo work. But it's just too much of him just
going through the motions,
coasting.
Yeah, fair shite, mate, fair shite. Magsy, for my entrant, it started off as one thing and it's kind of escalated into something else. But if I say to you the name Dwayne Bruce, what does that pop in? What pops in your mind there? Anyone at all?
You said Dwayne. My instant thoughts was The Rock.
No, Dwayne, as in DEWAYN, Dwayne Bruce.
It's just a glossiness then. I thought you said Dwayne. No, I have no idea who Dwayne.
Okay.
That sounds like I'm doing a very poor accent of someone. Dwayne, like Jamaican.
I mean, first of all, stupid first name. Deserves to go on the Hall of Fame just for that.
But and this two first names as his name, though. I've always hated that.
But then I suppose Batman was the other way around, wasn't he? Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but that's still two first names.
You not like that then?
When someone's second name is also a first name, no. It annoys. Yeah, it annoys.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind for future. I'm sure I can get some out of that. Dwayne Bruce is probably more known to people, especially those who are watching along on Nitro Nights with us, as Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Now, this is a guy who weighed apparently 230 odd pounds at certain points in his career, but stood at around 4'8", I think.
Wearing high heels. He was the Danny DeVito of WCW.
Yes. Now, when I did a Nitro Nights recording the other day with our good buddy Scottish Danny, something popped up on the screen that I think is quite potentially the worst thing I've ever seen. It's that bad. It was that cringy. I mean, the more I think about it, the more maybe there'll be other options, but this was so bad. Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker wrestled in that gimmick on and off for various, different years and times and, different booking periods and so on in WCW. In the July of '96, obviously, the NWO are flying. They just started off. They're really cool. Everyone can't wait to see them on TV and so on. But what you don't get with all this revisionist history on the DVDs that the WWE released and the documentaries and so on is that not everything on the WCW TV shows at this time was all cool and brilliant and all conquering, as they explain, because you still had the Dungeon of Doom. Now, Magsy, we have had numerous entrants into the Hall of Fame from the Dungeon of Doom, haven't we? So many, because they are dross. They are shockingly bad. it seems every week I'm turning to Danny and going, are they still a thing? Because they keep popping back up. And we had the joys of a new member of the Dungeon of Doom entering their little faction, their group, in the last week or so as we were recording. And I give you Brawn the Leprechaun. Now, not only does that sound ridiculous, not only does it look ridiculous, please, everybody, jump on your phones and so on after we finished and Google Leprechaun WCW. It's not, it's it's Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker dressed up in green leprechaun gear with shitty hair and bad teeth. Okay, he runs to the ring like he's the Ultimate Warrior, sprinting around the crowd, being an absolute lunatic. But it's still Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, who we saw only a few weeks ago wrestling as Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. In literally the same segment of his debut show, we've got Nash and Hall in the production truck messing around and just being funny and brilliant and excellent TV. And it cuts back to the ring and we've got this stupid little leprechaun dude. And it looks ridiculous. It looks terrible. It looks... well, there you go, Magsy. Brilliant stuff. Look at that. Aren't you brilliant and professional, eh? That right there is Brawn the Leprechaun. And that's not even the worst he looks. When his shirt's done up with the rest of his clobber on, oh my goodness. Apparently, this gimmick only lasts a few weeks. But yeah, he debuted on an episode of Saturday Night, turned up on Nitro a few times, and then they canned him. And then he went on to make Dave Bautista sick. The power plant training him and stuff like that. But that's a whole... I was going to say, I'm going to put Buddy Lee Parker... I'm going to put the whole guy in the Hall of Fame. But maybe we'll look at that another occasion because he's an asshole as well as a weird little dude. But yeah, my entrance is one of the most cringe things I've seen in a long time. And it ticks the boxes for the Hall of Fame because it's one of those scenarios where if somebody walked in the room and saw you looking at it, they'd be like, what do you watch this shit for? And that is Brawn the Leprechaun.
Yeah, again, another character who's popping up in the Nitro that I've been watching. He's involved in a storyline with Goldberg, where Goldberg costs his career or something like that. Basically because of the power plant training. But I think the best thing that Buddy Lee Parker ever did for wrestling was the Louis Theroux documentary. Where
that was
he essentially bullies Louis Theroux when he can't do all the training. That is brilliant to watch. Absolutely brilliant.
That's when obviously it's quite dated now, isn't it? Because WCW was still active. Because he goes to the power plant.
Yeah, that was the power plant. Yeah.
There's Chuck Palumbo in the background and stuff like that.
I think so. There's a segment where they're doing promo training, and there's a few kind of like semi well-known wrestlers who are there training.
Yeah, I think the guy's an asshole, but there we go. I've never met him personally. I'm only going.
He was an asshole in the Louis Theroux show, very kind of misogynistic, and I think at one time he calls Louis a pansy or something like that. But yeah, he's not a nice person.
No. So, and I hope next time anyone does sort of have to experience how much of an asshole he is, they remind him of Brawn the Leprechaun. Because he deserves to be mocked. Stupid little prick.
If that was your biggest character on the company you worked so hard for, you would also be an angry person.
Yeah, he's got short person syndrome, hasn't he? But there we go. Your entrance into this week's Hall of Fame, which will return again in 2 weeks' time, because next week we'll be doing our third edition of Mags v Sci. But your entrance oh, it is 1-1. It's the tension, mate, in there. Tension.
I forgot about
it. Your entrance this week into the Hall of Fame are the narcissist Lex Luger and Brawn the fucking Leprechaun.
Brilliant. The second best ever leprechaun that there's ever been in wrestling.
Really? If you're going to say Hornswoggle, because that guy can get in the bin as well.
Yeah, but he was the best. I'm not saying he was good, but he was the best leprechaun.
I suppose. I don't know. I just don't like Hornswoggle, mate.
That's mean. Mean thing to say. You're shortest, aren't you?
No, I'm not shortest. No, I'm not shortest. I've got no problems. I've got no problems with leprechauns.
Dwarfophobia.
No, it's not at all. I've got no issues with leprechauns or small. I'm a big fan of the breakfast cereal. There's no need. There's no issues at all on that front. I just don't like Hornswoggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you also put another leprechaun into the Hall of Fame. There is a pattern emerging.
Yeah, but he wasn't even small enough to be a leprechaun. That's what makes the gimmick even more ridiculous. You know, that's what makes it even more ridiculous.
Wow.
Shall we scan through the chat and see how the CWF are agreeing with you and openly mocking me? No doubt.
First one that pops up: Kingspin's Ladder shortest. Sharon, you're good lady, the person who knows you the most in this world. You have an issue with little people, Sam.
I don't think this is the place to go into this because I'm going to end up cancelled.
Yeah, I may have to draft in another horse for next week.
Yeah,
you may be cancelled. Yeah,
once I defend myself on Twitter and stuff.
Dan, going back to Gloucester filming some, being the place to film some Doctor Who, it's because it was just the cheapest. They only asked for a new wheel of cheese. And was that pre-Hill rolling or after?
Mate, we didn't even have just Doctor Who filming here. We had a fucking Christmas episode of Doctor Who filming here. Thank you very much.
I dare say that you did, and I bet it was the biggest thing that's ever happened in Gloucester until Fred West went and murdered about 35 people.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad you said. I was literally going to go. Well, yeah, Fred West probably dominated the headlines a bit more, but yeah, okay.
Now, why did Doctor Who go back into time in Gloucester and save those people from Fred West? See?
You can't do that because that would create. I'm not going to get into time travel rules with you now, Maggie. This is not the right show, but there's reasons, okay?
Cam, this bloody mouse is playing up. Cam says he's really enjoying Luger in the Nitro watchbacks, to be fair. And then Dan puts more sense back into the chat by saying Luger wouldn't even make the WBF Hall of Fame, and there's only him there.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is really good.
Scottish Danny says he's also enjoying Luger. He cut an amazing promo on the July the 22nd episode. That can't be true. Luger cut an amazing promo.
Honestly, Magsy, it's not just Danny being overly enthusiastic and happy and wired on Red Bull all the time. He's speaking the truth. I thought it was fantastic as well.
Yeah, but you're a Lex Luger lover.
I'm not a Lex Luger lover. Try saying that 10 times when you drunk Lex Luger lover.
Alliteration. Cam says, I think I remember it, Danny. I had to stop watching to try and watch along with the podcast release and loving a bit of WCW. Yeah, I've said before that I'm actually really enjoying watching 2000s WCW. There's a lot of gash, but in there is some really, really good wrestling. Cam says the dynamic with Sting was great as well, but it just seems to have vanished. And then Cam says, hasn't even had a match, has he? I'm assuming it means Sergeant Bloody Lee Parker. Jesus God. He couldn't get up the steps to the ring. That's why.
No.
Scottish Daddy says we're just approaching Hog Wild. He's wrestled in a 6-man tag, but did have a few weeks off. Oh, right. I'm still on about Luger then, I assume.
Yeah, Luger. Yeah.
Cam says, "Oh yes, wasn't he just running around the outside bit, actually getting into the ring?"
Yeah, that was the leprechaun. Yeah, he literally just ran around the outside like a lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
It was nonsense.
I mean, that comment has to get put back up. You have an issue with little people. Scottish says, "Yeah, mate, but him and Sting are going to take on the Outsiders at the pay-per-view." Excited. I don't know if they're going to win though.
Spoilers.
Oh, see, you've offended Cam because we are vertically challenged. Thank you.
How tall are you then, Cam? If you don't mind me asking. I've met you, but I was sat down, so it's difficult to judge, isn't
it? And I was sat down, and you came up to my knee.
No, well, I suppose it'd be more difficult if he was sat down. To be fair, and it was a long time.
Because you'd be able to see if his feet were touching the ground. If he was sat down and he was little, he might say, Saki, you just took this chair in because I can't get down. Who's nicked my stepladder?
But thank you for watching Nitro Night, listening to Nitro Nights and watching along with us, Cam. Really appreciate it, mate. Stop picking on people, Max.
Scottish Daddy says, drafting the leprechaun from the Dungeon of Doom. Amazing. Danny, Cam says, Danny, way past that. I've not been able to stop. And then Sharon saying, they also filmed Harry Potter here.
This is true.
I mean, that's not a flex. That's literally not a flex.
That wasn't just one episode either. That was a series of like loads and loads of films that made loads of money. I probably should have led with that, to be fair.
How much of that was filmed in Gloucester, though?
A lot of the scenes when they were in the school was actually like in parts of the cathedral.
All right, okay. Well, that's me shut down.
Yeah, so you can like walk around the cathedral and be.
So yeah, that was way more important than any Doctor Who episode and the murderings of Fred West. So yeah, you should have led with Harry Potter.
Probably should have gone with that, yeah, to be fair. In hindsight, I see the error of my ways. I'm not doing a very good job promoting how great my city is, probably because it's shit. Anyway, shall we move on to our non-wrestling topic, Magsy?
Let's do it.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
I'll see how easily confused I am.
Yeah.
Okay. I've just brought up the people tweeting into the show for the non-wrestling topics, and as you know, Max, I screenshot them, so I've got them all in a list I can just scan through, right? And the screenshot, the first one I have here, because I do go through them in the order they arrived into us. The screenshot says 2 minutes past 9 at the top, and I thought, my God, is that it? We've only been on air for 2 minutes. But no, it's not. It's the time when I took the screenshot.
You're an idiot.
I am an idiot. I twigged fairly quickly, in my defense. But there we go. This week's non-wrestling topic links back to last week's non-wrestling topic. Last week, we looked at great sequels that were probably better than their original movies that they followed on from. Here, we're doing the opposite. We're looking at awful sequels, awful part twos, franchises that didn't live up to the original movie, and so on. And again, we had quite a few come in, and there's going to be a little bit of a running theme, I guess, where I've probably not seen the majority of them. So I'm going to be picking your brains, Mr. Mags.
I mean, why would I want to have seen them as well?
Well, you might have seen them, not realizing they're shite before you put them on.
And I mean, that is true, but then I can also deny that I've ever watched a terrible sequel.
Yeah, because that's, coining your phrase, that's a flex, isn't it? Eh? I've never seen a bad movie in my life. Excuse me, sorry. Also in the chat there, CWF, let us know your thoughts on these suggestions, tweets, and comments on terrible sequels, and if you have any others to add as we're talking. We begin with our good buddy Dan Griffin at DanGriffin21 on Twitter. He says, the first one that springs to mind is Thor 2. I can't say the TF noise, okay? Before you jump on that and mock me, Mags.
Thor.
I'm not saying
you can't say Thor.
No, we've covered this before, haven't we? Anything that begins TH that makes the sort of first sound, I can't do.
Okay.
So it comes out sounding like an F. So I'm not saying 4-2 as in 42. I'm saying 4-2.
As in the number 4, then the number 2.
No, the film with the bloke that my wife likes with the cape and the
as
hammer.
in, okay, so as in, I'd like a table 4-2. Is that what you mean?
No, just stop it. 4-2, The Dark World. Fucking garbage. How do you cock up Christopher Eccleston as a villain? Dan says here. Okay, I've never seen this. I know my wife has seen it. And she'll probably give her thoughts in the chat there. Christopher Eccleston's fantastic. He was great in Doctor Who. He's been great in loads of other stuff as well.
He's arguably one of the best Doctors.
Yeah,
so good,
brilliant stuff.
A one season and done guy as well.
Yeah, it's a shame. I wish there was more. I wish he'd revisit it as well, like when you get these special guest spots and so on. But he's never done anything, mate. So that's a shame.
It's so embarrassed about his time as the Doctor.
Is that right?
I don't know. I hope not. Because I mean, apart from his first episode, where was it the bins or the plastic that was the monster of the week? I thought his whole season was brilliant.
Yeah, very good. I really liked him. Also, Dan says Alien versus Predator 2, Requiem. Is that how you say that? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
A movie about a xenomorph stroke predator hybrid, which sounds badass, but you never see the fucking thing. Garbage. So you don't ever see the bad guy.
You don't ever see the xenomorph predator monster.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a letdown, isn't it?
Its card is subject to change. It's clickbaiting.
Right.
It's like when wrestling shows promote that there's going to be a certain
Magsy frozen.
wrestler on the match, much like.
Are you there? You froze up a bit there, mate.
Oh, did I? Well, you froze up for me. So
okay. Apologies.
Brilliant.
Yeah, okay. But we're back now.
We are for now.
For now. Dan's brother Cam at Cam Griff 92. He says Sicario 2. Haven't seen it, but the first.
He said, "That's you. He's typically. This is just you."
How does he know it's shit if he's never seen it?
Because he's got read the rest of the sentence.
I'm going to, but okay. For Sicario 2, I haven't seen it, but the first one was immeasurably shite. But the second one might be amazing, and you just don't know because you haven't seen it.
It won't be. I mean, I've not seen it either, but it won't.
Cam also says any Disney animated sequel of the OGs, like Aladdin, etc., that have gone straight to DVD. Unfortunately, with Disney Plus, my eldest now has a fascination with some Lion King sequel that's utter dross. There was a batch of those. Cam's spot on. There was a batch of those movies, weren't there? That just, literally just
churn them out.
Yeah,
they'd absolutely churn them out.
Yeah. Okay. Danny at Scottish Danny at Scottish Juggalo, sorry, on Twitter. He says crimes against humanity are defined as any of the following acts when committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against any civilian population. These acts include murder, enslavement, deportation, watching The Son of the Mask, imprisonment, and torture. So,
The Son of the Mask is above torture
and murder. No, imprisonment as well. Yeah. I've not seen that. The Mask I enjoyed. I thought that was quite a funny film for its time.
For its time, yeah. But yeah, I'm glad I've never seen The Son of the Mask. Didn't they also do one where the dog was the main star of it as well?
Oh God, did they?
I'm sure that they did.
That
I've not seen it, thank God. I may have imagined it, but yeah, I'm sure.
If you've imagined it, you need to write it.
Exactly.
You need to make that film.
Rule 34.
We come to Steve-O next. Our good buddy at Total Steve-O on Twitter. He says here, as standalone films, they're decent, but as follow-ups to amazing films, not a patch. Die Hard 2 and Predator 2. I think that's
with both them.
Yeah. Die Hard 2 is a decent movie, but the first film was so much better. Because I've seen both of those, and I'm very proud of myself. In-Betweeners 2 is just too Hollywood, meaning that they are clearly aiming at a global market. It's why the first one was brilliant, as was just aimed at a UK audience. Yeah, okay, I get that. I didn't like In-Betweeners 2. I mean, to be fair, the first movie was decent, but it wasn't as good as a TV show either, was it?
No, I think the first movie should have been the kind of sign off. There was no need for the second film at all. It was just a cash grab, and like Steve says, it was to get international markets, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true or not, but I think I read somewhere that they're talking about making another one, but it's them in their 40s. It's them in their 40s now, or late 30s, or whatever.
Yeah, but the difference is they still look young. They still look like the kids in the original TV series. So I don't know how that would work. They haven't aged enough, even though they are in their 30s and 40s. Or I don't think they've aged enough to be playing those roles.
Yeah, I guess. Steve-O continues. Terminator 3 is so bad. The female
it's
Terminator...
just come on Netflix. before you get into that, and it was one of those kind of Netflix new films that I thought, oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. Why not give it a try? And I got about 10 minutes in and I thought, yeah, I remember this being shot. I got to the scene where the female, the TX, is being pulled over by the police, and she sees a poster for I think it's for Wonder Bra, and then she makes her robot boobs massive, and I thought, yeah, this is wank, and then turned it off.
That needs to be a short on YouTube. She makes her robot boobs massive. Yes, Steve says Terminator 3 is so bad. The female Terminator, from what I remember, failed miserably. I think I have seen that, because I loved Terminator 2. So when they were making another one, I thought this is going to be great, but it was not.
Yeah, it was just a vehicle for Arnie to be back in the Terminator role, and the person who played the female Terminator, she wasn't even an actress. She was just literally a model. I don't think she's done anything else apart from this. It was just it was not a good film.
No,
not a good film.
Kick-Ass 2, nothing like the first film. Similar to In-Betweeners, seemed to try and appeal to a larger audience and failed. Now, is Kick-Ass the one with the kids who are superheroes?
Yeah,
that was good. I liked that.
Yeah, I've never seen the second one because didn't they killed off Nicolas Cage's character in the first one? He was the superhero dad of the girl superhero.
Okay. I've seen it. I can't remember.
I'm sure was Kick-Ass 2 the one where Jim Carrey was in it, and then he like basically went on a bitch fit about how he wasn't the main star or something like that.
I don't know. I don't recall that.
I think so.
But I'll avoid it anyway if Steve says it's shite. Dumb and Dumberer. Jesus Christ. Like American Pie 3 was just a parody of itself, literally as if the actors were doing impressions of themselves. Although American Pie 3 is good, just some of the acting, especially by Sean William Scott, who plays Stifler, as Mags would say, horrific.
I don't remember American Pie 3 at all. I know they were another franchise that they made ridiculous amounts of movies. And a lot of the cast weren't even in the sequels. It was literally just the dad with the weird eyebrows. He ended up being the main star. But yeah, once it got past
weird eyebrows.
Once it got past the second one, I checked out pretty quickly because it was a lot of the same jokes. It was a lot of the same kind of like teenage sexual innuendo kind of humor. And once you've seen one, you've seen them all, really.
Yeah, the first one was really good. The second one I enjoyed as well. The third one was the wedding, I think, wasn't it? Is that when they get? I think that's the third one, isn't it? And then you had all the spin-offs that went straight to DVD that were absolutely crap, and it was Stifler's little brother and all that sort of shite. And then they made a reunion one not too long ago, didn't they? And that one wasn't too bad.
With the original stars.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. If again I was, 17 again or something, it would have been hysterical. But it's,
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Steve continues. Saw 2, way too action-packed, rather than a psychological thriller like the first, as ever trying to appeal to a larger audience. Again, I reiterate, a lot of these, barring Dumb and Dumberer, Terminator 3 and Kick-Ass 2, are good standalone films, just not good sequels. Zulu Dawn, despite being a sequel, is actually a prequel, just didn't have the impact Zulu had. Again, too Hollywood-esque. And Rambo 2 was meh. Steve says here. Now, this needs a bit of defining, doesn't it? Because Rambo 2 would actually be the third film. Because Rambo, the initial film was called First Blood.
Yeah.
The second film was called Rambo, First Blood 2.
First Blood Part 2.
Yeah. So then, right, okay. So he means the second First Blood film then. The second Rambo film. Yeah. As opposed to,
Because the next film was called Rambo 3.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I get you. I'm just saying that. Oh, for God's sake.
And then wasn't it called? Then after that, wasn't it just called Rambo?
They made one not long ago, didn't they? Yeah.
And then I think the next one in the pipeline is just going to be called John Rambo.
He's making another one.
Yeah.
Isn't he like 80?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's getting on. We
Still
just
better
can't
than
let
me,
the
don't get me wrong,
Vietnam
but-
War. He can't let it go. He's just
Nah,
it haunts him.
just get over it, dude. The Thing had a prequel made in 2011-ish. The ending legit is fantastic, tying into the 1984 film. Sadly, the CGI ruins it, taking you out of your sense of disbelief. Okay, I didn't realize they made a sequel to that. To be fair, because the original one in '84 is decent.
Yeah, I think when they made the second film, they brought out a series of like video games as well based on it. I've not
Okay.
played the games, and I certainly didn't watch the film. But yeah, they tried to make it like a huge franchise, and it fell flat on its arse.
Right, fair enough. 28 weeks later, again, from what I remember, Steve-O says, a classic example of more money makes things bigger, sorry, just meh. 28 days later, I loved. 28 weeks
Yeah.
later, I remember not being anywhere near as good.
Yeah, 28 days later, that was the one with Cillian Murphy, the original actor. That was great.
Okay.
Great film. Yeah, the second one not so much. Steve-O nails it. He nails it absolutely right. It's a case of we've got a big hit here. Let's throw everything we've got at it, and it takes away the character of the original.
Didn't they make more of those as well?
I bloody well hope not. Well, like 28 months later, 28 years later.
Yeah.
What did they? Jesus. I
so.
don't remember any of them, thank the Lord.
Or I might have just dreamt that.
You might be hoping for that.
I might be, yeah. Benny Mac at Benny Mac on Twitter, the host of the awesome In the Corner show on the SJP World Media Network. Watching modern WWE, so you don't have to, but it's actually worth watching at the moment. But there we go.
It is.
You can still get Benny's and Tyler's viewpoints of it several times a week. Aliens versus Predator 2, fucking awful. Starship Troopers 2 was shit, and Independence Day 2 was boring. I didn't realize they made another Independence Day.
Yeah, it was not long ago. There's meant to be 3 or 4 coming out.
Oh God.
Yeah, Will Smith needs a hit, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
Now, Starship Troopers 2 I've never seen, and this may upset a lot of people, but I didn't think that much of the original. I know it's like a cult classic and people think it's amazing, but I didn't find it particularly good.
I've seen the first one and I thought it was all right, but that's it. I don't hold it in such high regard as some other people do. But again, each to their own, isn't it? You know, the second one I think I started to watch and it was crap. So
I've not seen it, and I will not. I won't make promises like Sar when he says he'll check it out. I won't check it out. I promise you that.
Fair enough. We have someone here called Mikey Dangerously at M Dangerously on Twitter, and I don't think these two films even exist. Do they? I'm not sure.
Where's the mark? I haven't got the marky one.
Have you not? These are ones came in very late on, Magsy, 8:30 onwards.
Oh well, I'm not refreshing the page, so you'll just have to read them out, and they won't be there.
God, that Tooth Fairy 2 was pretty bad, and so was Jingle All the Way sequel.
There was a Tooth Fairy. That's the Rock film, isn't it? It was.
Yes.
They made a second one of that.
Was there?
I hope not.
And was there a Jingle All the Way sequel as well, or is this guy just trying to wind us up? Mikey.
That can't be a film.
No,
it was. Yeah,
really.
2014, and it wasn't. Oh wow, I didn't even know he was in it. So the main star wasn't Arnie this time. It was Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, he's a comedian who's like a hillbilly.
Okay,
and it stars Santino Marella.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I sound excited there. My tone of voice would dictate that that's a good thing, but I'm never going to watch it. You know.
and there was actually a third Tooth Fairy film. Again,
No way.
Tooth Fairy 2 stars Larry the Cable Guy in the. So he must just be the go-to person for wrestling movies that need a new star.
Oh dear me.
There's been a third one, so I just want to see if he's made the sequel. Oh no, it looks like the third one's a horror film. That's brilliant.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
that's a certain change of genre.
It is indeed. And again, coming in incredibly late, just before we went live, we have Rob at UTC Rob on Twitter, and he simply says, Highlander 2, first film was great. Highlander 2 was fucking awful.
Yeah. And to offend friend of the show, Foul Original, who absolutely adores Highlander 2 was gash. The quickening should have been the sickening, more like.
Yes, there we go. But that's all we have from Twitter, my friend, unless I've missed any. I don't think I have.
Well, no, I missed some this time, which is shocking.
Well, they came in like literally when you were probably already sat there tinkering with your mic and stuff, I suppose.
They
It
could
was like
well
20 to 9 and whatever. But yeah.
Sharon in the chat says she has one, but Sarah doesn't want her to say it. Now, what is this?
It'll be Grease 2.
Do you like Grease 2?
No, not really. There's certain bits of the soundtrack because she's taking the piss. Because I always say that Grease 2 is amazing because it's got Michelle Pfeiffer and motorbikes.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
But it's not great, but it's not as shit as people make out. And there are some cool songs in the soundtrack as well.
But it's no Grease 1.
I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't know. Is it better than the first one? Maybe. It's not.
Is it because you like Michelle Pfeiffer?
You
are not watching for the film, are you?
And motorbikes. I like motorbikes. My wife in the chat there, I think she's trying to say not tricking. I think that's a different word there. Autocorrector's got my wife. I think that's going to be something that begins with an F. Sai loves Grease 2, the dirty liar. In my head, I thought it was really good and I loved it. But when I rewatched it a while back when it was on like ITV4 or something, I was like, this is not as good as I remember it being at all. But there we go. What about you, Magsy? Before we dive on into the chat, have you got any sequels that have not been mentioned?
Yeah, a few. After about the third one, maybe the Police Academy films, they went ridiculous. From going to Miami Beach and then Mission to Moscow, they got quite ridiculous just to keep getting the same group together to make another ridiculous film. Again, same kind of thing. After maybe the first 2 or 3, the Scary Movie franchise. The jokes got old pretty quickly. Yeah, we get it. You're just taking the piss out of horror films. Big Mama's House. The first one was funny. It's the one with Martin Lawrence where he's playing the undercover cop.
Okay, yeah.
Big Mama. And then they milked it for about, I think that was another one what got maybe about 4 or 5 sequels. Yeah. So yeah, they were pretty rough.
Yeah, not good at all. I'm totally on board with Police Academy, and I was going to say about Scary Movie, and even Saw to a degree. Not Saw, Scream, which is kind of what it was based upon, wasn't it?
Scream. I think it's Scream 6 is coming out very soon, and it actually does look good.
Yeah,
I may go and see that one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Do you remember Cocoon?
I do.
Cocoon was a good film. Cocoon 2 is absolute shite.
I mean, Cocoon 1, was it a good film? It was an all-right film. Very.
Maybe.
It's for a certain generation.
Yeah. There we go. And Jaws as well. The first Jaws is so good. Absolutely fantastic. Classic. Basically a horror film with a fish, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know? But then the sequels, the ones that come after it, especially when you start getting into like Jaws 4 and the Revenge and all that sort of
Son
nonsense.
of Jaws.
Yeah, and the mum shark has gone to find the family because they killed the son shark. It's like, come on, have a word for yourself.
It's a fucking fish.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
the one that I haven't mentioned, and it's literally just popped into my head, and I don't know if it was that I hated the movie or whether I was so disappointed because I loved the franchise. But RoboCop 3,
Oh yeah.
the one where he gets the jetpack and can fly.
Mm.
RoboCop 1 and to a lesser extent RoboCop 2 are really good films. RoboCop 3 is it's just gash. It's just horrible.
Yeah. It is shite. It is absolutely shite. And haven't they got a different guy actually playing RoboCop in that film as well?
Yeah, it's not was it called Weller?
That
The
sounds about
original
right.
actor. Yeah, but he's not in that one at all.
Mm. Yeah.
It's also got that stupid like Japanese robot guy who can rip his thumb off, and he's got a laser wire that can chop people's arms off. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, absolute shite. Absolute shite. But there we go. Should we scan through the chat and see if we have any shouts in there, Magsy, before we move on to a little bit of wrestling?
Let's get all the way back up. Yep, we shall. King's Pig's Bladder. Titanic 2, The Revenge. The Revenge of what? The iceberg. There was actually a Titanic 2 film made. I don't think it was made by the same company, but I'm sure it was called Titanic 2 Britannic, named after another ship. I have no idea what the storyline was.
That sounds really bad.
Yeah. Dan Griffith says 4-2 is wank, which gained the ire of Sharon. And Cam sucking up to Sharon by saying it's not the best, but you can rewatch it, no bother. Sharon on her soapbox says, I flipping love 4-2. I said what I said. Cam says, I'll never find outside the first one that scarred me for life, talking about Sicario.
Yeah.
Scottish Danny, the Son of the Mask is absolutely horrific. Steve-O section, get that Lord of the Rings trilogy out, Dan. There we go. Scottish Danny also says, In Betweeners needs to die now. It won't be the same. Yeah, I agree. I can't see how they make a reunion of that work. Cam says, hopefully I make it back for the wrestling chat, but the youngest has just fallen asleep and I've got errands to run. Well, you go in real life, mate, but make sure that you come back, or if you don't, you listen back on the audio.
Yeah.
We'll be checking, Cam.
Obviously, if he doesn't come back and doesn't listen on the audio, he won't hear you telling him to come back and listen to the audio.
Well, we'll see. We'll see next week.
In it, eh?
Look, I thought you said you weren't getting all Doctor Who on me.
I'm not. I'm sorry. Come on, move on.
King's Pigs Banner says Barcam, and then says Jim Carrey was in it. Kick-Ass 2, and he thought it was okay. Scottish Daddy says Dumb and Dumber was good, but the Dumb and Dumber 2 was the abomination. So which was which? Because I know they did, like, one of them was like almost a prequel, like When Harry Met Lloyd. I don't know if that was the Dumb and Dumberer. But the
Dumb and
recent
Dumberer was the recent one, wasn't it?
Right. Well, the recent one is terrible. That's horrific. The first Dumb and Dumber 2 was also pretty horrific, but there is one good gag in it that's stuck with me forever, and it's always tickled me. Where I think it's Lloyd, the character who's played originally by Jim Carrey. He's going on a date with someone, and he's got to meet underneath like the town clock at a certain time. And to make sure he gets there, he draws a watch on his wrist with that time. It's ridiculous, but it's just something that's always. It's the only thing about that film I remember, and it just tickled me. King's Pigs Banner says any of the hundreds of Steven Seagal sequels, they're all shit. I'd put in as well. All of the originals of Steven Seagal's were pretty shit as well.
What was the one he was in on the boat?
The one where he was the chef Under Siege.
That's it, with the last from Baywatch popping out the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good film.
They did about 3 or 4 of them, I think.
No, the first one's good. The rest, nah.
So Sharon says, I have one. Obviously, we know what this leads to. It leads to Sar loving Grease 2. Oh my God, Dan Griffin. Sar watches Grease 2 for the plot the same way he reads Playboy for the articles.
Hey, there's some fantastic stories on those magazines. Don't knock it.
King's Pigs Banner says Cocoon 2 was shit. Sharon says The Crow 2 was shit. And King's Pigs Banner says do not speak ill of the Jaws sequels. So you've crossed him there, sir. You've absolutely crossed him.
I apologize.
King's Pigs Bladders, tell us in the chat what you think of the Sharknado series of films as well. Then
isn't there like 8 of those now or something stupid?
Yeah, they were massive for the first maybe 2 or 3, and then they got like quickly ridiculous. I mean, they were ridiculous in the first place. Traveling tornadoes full of killer sharks.
Yeah, you get those movies on the horror channel, don't you? On like Sky or cable or whatever you've got, and it's like 2-headed shark versus giant alligator, and it's the same kind of early 2000s rubbish special effects kind of movie. They
made with a budget of 14 quid.
Yeah. I did a little bit of Googling, mate, whilst you were doing that. And I looked up Titanic 2. And there is a movie called Titanic 2. It came out in 2010. And the plot is, honouring the 100th anniversary of its namesake, a modern luxury liner called Titanic 2 sets sail along the same path. When a looming iceberg spells doom, the crew struggles to avoid a similar fate. I mean,
brilliant.
You're just tempting fate, aren't you? You know,
I mean, we'll follow the exact path in the exact ship. Yeah, it's idiots who do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
And on IMDb, it's rated at 1.6 out of 10. So there is a movie masterpiece there, I guess.
And before we move on, quickly talking about movies that have got a budget of next to nothing. There was some news that I saw this week. So Winnie the Pooh.
I'm familiar, yes.
Right. So the character of Winnie the Pooh has now gone into public domain. Essentially, that whoever the owner of the copyright, their 99 years in charge of that copyright is up, and now anybody can make anything to do with Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
So there's a little group of people have made a Winnie the Pooh horror film, and it's just been released. It had its debut in Mexico, and it's just been released in America, and it's already earned 4,000% of its budget back. It's easily on track to be the most profitable movie in terms of percentages of the decade. It's that huge, and it's coming to Britain, I think, in June. So I might go and see. Apparently, it's crap. Like literally, it's just a guy with a Winnie the Pooh mask, like in a horror film. And it was made with a budget of like $10,000, but it's made an absolute killing at the box office. So look forward to a review of that when it comes out.
Fantastic stuff. So anyone can make anything now with Winnie the Pooh on it.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh. Now, Tigger, I think there's about 6 years before his copyright is up because he was added to the story or the law later on, and I think the same with Eeyore. Is that the donkey?
Yeah,
they can't be used yet, but yeah, anyone can make anything with Winnie the Pooh now. So there will be some Winnie the Pooh porn pretty soon, I'd reckon.
So you'll fully expect Winnie the Pooh chain wrestling t-shirts to be coming soon. Maxie, shall we talk a little bit of wrestling, bud?
I think we should just wrap up now. That's
yeah.
It's been fun enough. Let's not ruin the day for everybody.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So then, So what's that face for? What's that about?
Just, I know how glad you are to have won a poll.
Yeah, but how
So-
backwards is this? I've put forward some really good wrestling matches, and people have voted for this, which I put up as a dig because we had to watch shit the week before, and it won.
See that this group of amazing people that come and watch us every week, they want to torment us. They're picking the horrific stuff on purpose.
Do you remember when we?
if it were us, we'd do it to other people. So
This is true.
we can't blame them for it.
Do you remember when there was occasions where we used to have to sort of talk to each other and not give away what we were going to put forward, but say this week we should make a thing of both putting shit matches up because we've watched so much good wrestling recently. Yeah, that's all gone out the window now, isn't it? Eh?
Maybe our picks for this week should just be all good wrestling. So
well, I'm
we
not
get
sure I
to
can
watch
tick those
something.
boxes. We'll see. We will see. The winner of this week's poll was me, amazingly enough, with the opening contest of Survivor Series 2006, a traditional Survivor Series match, 4v4, the team of the Spirit Squad taking on the team called Team WWE Legends, I think was the name they were given.
It was, yeah. The team of legends.
Indeed. With Sergeant Slaughter, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and Ron Simmons, who stepped in for Roddy Piper, who we were talking before we pressed record, Bagsy, weren't we? It was to do with his cancer diagnosis, I think.
Yeah, I think they had promoted with Roddy Piper being in this match, but unfortunately he let the WWE know that he had cancer, and Ron stepped in. Thankfully, Roddy beat cancer this time, was able to be with us for a few years after this. But yeah, it was quite sad to hear about Roddy not being in this match. But Ron was certainly a very fitting replacement.
Mm-hmm. We also had cornermen, I suppose, people accompanying the teams down to the ring. So for the Spirit Squad, it was one of the interchangeable generic guys in a green top.
It was Mitch.
Was it really?
It was Mitch. Yes.
I know Dolph and I know Kenny. The rest of them, they just all look the same to me. They just interchange. They could be anyone.
I mean,
if they were,
to be fair, the only one who stands out is Kenny because of the headband. Even in this, Nicky, I think it's Dolph Ziggler's character. He still looks like generic male cheerleader here. He looks like all the rest of them.
Yeah. If they swapped their shirts around before coming out for this match, I would have no idea that they were called different names. No idea at all.
I agree with that, apart from Kenny, because of the headband.
Yeah. They had, again, like I said, generic cheerleader number 3 or whatever it was as their ringside guy. And the Legends team had the always brilliant Arn Anderson, which is fantastic.
Who was clearly doing some production backstage and just popped out for this match because he was in his t-shirt and slacks.
Exactly. Well, to be fair, so was Ron Simmons.
Yeah, again, another person who was probably doing some planning backstage and was just thrown in.
I loved the Legends getting individual entrances. I'm always a big fan of that. Everyone getting their theme musics and played and so on. And there's a couple of absolute bangers there as well, isn't it? The Horseman theme for Arn Anderson is fantastic. And Dusty Rhodes' entrance theme is just, it's got to be one of the best of all time, surely.
Yeah, it is. It is. It absolutely is.
When was the last time you watched this then, Magsy, other than for the show?
When it was aired, probably.
Yeah,
it's not a match that regularly comes to my mind, and I think I'm not Scottish Danny. I do not go on Spirit Squad binges. So yeah, it's the first time since 2006.
Yeah, and me. My first real sort of note is that one of the Spirit Squad has brought a bloody air horn to the ring with them, and I'm just thinking, oh no, we're going to have to listen to that all the way through. But thankfully, it stops after the entrances, doesn't it?
They did bring them to the ring.
That's what I mean. Okay, right. So I can't remember. I remember the Spirit Squad, and I would have watched this every week. At this time, I'd have still been watching weekly. But barring the stuff with DX, I don't remember much about them at all.
I remember when Kenny he was like the leader of the gang, or the de facto leader, I suppose, and he was pushed to get a world title shot.
Okay.
And was Cena the champion? I think Cena was the champion when they were essentially bullying people. Were they general managers for a week or something like that? And that's how they bullied their way to get for Kenny to get a title shot. And I don't know what I think, but I'm piecing it together bit by bit. But I think Cena was either the champion or he was being controlled by Kenny to make him win the match. I'm sure Scotty will be able to correct me in the chat, but I do remember Kenny essentially strong-arming his way into a WWE title match.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Bloody good leg drop from the top rope, though. I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, it was a cracker. I mean, he looked like he was going to be the person that kind of broke out from this group and made was made into a big star, but it just, as in a lot of people in wrestling, it just didn't really happen for him. I think he's now back with the company as an agent and a producer.
Oh, okay. I remember him wrestling as Kenny Dykstra.
I think that's his real name.
Yeah, but he was just incredibly bland, wasn't he? He was just like a lot of the characters in the mid card on especially on SmackDown at that time. It was just nothing to separate him from the others, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I remember as well, I think this may have just been before the Spirit Squad, but he's the guy that challenges John Cena to a rap battle outside in the crowd.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And John Cena beats him.
He went out with Mickey James for a bit as well, I think, didn't he?
Jesus. God should be like old enough to be his mum, surely.
Yeah, I know he was he like only 17 when he started wrestling, something like that?
I think he was like 18, maybe 19 when he was like at the heart of the Spirit Squad, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm fairly certain he went out with Mickey James for a bit. I've just completely made that up and apologies if I have, but there we go. I'm just going to do that for now. I'll just throw out random facts that aren't true. Ron Simmons starts the match. And that is true, by the way. I'm not making that up. You can go back and check it out yourself on the network.
Or don't, just listen to us.
And it's based very much on the fact that, you know, he's just this powerful guy and he's using shoulder blocks to send them down and so on. Here, Jim Ross on commentary, we all know that I love Jim Ross, lets himself down a little bit because JR shouts about there being, in the Survivor Series elimination matches, you could have 5v4 or 2v1 or 3v1, and he says there's unlimited mathematical situations. It's not unlimited.
No, there is very limited.
There is a specific number. I mean, I've not worked it out, but there is a specific number that you could actually get to. But there we go.
Well, the number would be 5 to the power of 5, surely.
All right, Carol Vorderman, fuck me.
No, but it would. five people, and then 5 on the other side. 5 to the power of 5. Yeah.
Okay. I don't really know what that means, but there we go. Ron Simmons is tripped from the outside by random, cheerleader number 4.
I think it was Mitch. That was Mitch, the one who wasn't in the match. Yeah.
Right. So I'm assuming then, if Mitch is not wrestling, I mean, again, Scottish Danny in the chat just popping up with a comment there, actually, so it's good to know you're there. Was Mitch the weak link out of the 5 then? Because you'd have thought they would put the 4 best workers in the match, wouldn't you? So is he the one that wasn't as good as the others, maybe?
Maybe they played rock, paper, scissors to see who wasn't in it.
Okay. I meant more from a booking standpoint, but
Scottish Danny says yes, he was. He was the worst of them.
Okay, fair enough.
He was the least experienced.
Brilliant. So
it's a good job we have got as an expert of the Spirit Squad, because I didn't have a fucking clue.
No, I mean, there's a guy in there called Johnny. Who the fuck's that? I don't remember that dude.
I mean, their whole entrance was them shouting their own names in very excited manners. Can you imagine being lumbered with having to shout Johnny every single time. That's ridiculous.
And is it Dolph Ziggler who just gets crazy overexcited when he shouted his name?
Nicky!
Nicky! Oh, dear. And that's actually is his name actually Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, Nick Nemeth. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like I said, Ron Simmons gets tripped from the outside, goes to the outside to sort of follow this other Spirit Squad member around, and we get the comedy aspect then of him backing into Arn Anderson, don't we? And Arn grabbing the guy, throwing him into the post. I got a kick out of that because I'm a big Arn fan, big NWA fan, and all that sort of stuff. So that was awesome. Yourself, Max?
It was all right. Yeah, I mean, this whole match is it's a nostalgia fest.
Yes,
isn't it? I mean, all the kind of the good points of the Legends team is who was an active wrestler at this time. All the rest were just here for the one show. So yeah, it's good to see that nostalgia, and it's good that it only got 10 minutes. But it was good for what it was. Yeah, I can't knock it for that. Scottish Danny said that Johnny dated Tori Wilson.
Fair play to Johnny. Yeah, that's good work.
I mean, that is definitely punching well above his weight.
Yes, it is indeed. You're an inspiration to us all, Johnny. Whilst on the outside, Ron Simmons, it's never made 100% clear, but I think they're both counted out, aren't they? They're both told, that's it, you're out.
Yeah. Essentially. And we get a bit of a comedy spot with the ref, because the referees are they don't normally get this aggressive in matches. Maybe aggressive is not the right word, but he tells Ron Simmons he's counted out, and then we get the bit where there's some delay, and the Spirit Squad think they're a man up, and then the other one gets counted out. Is that? Oh no, Arn Anderson gets ejected as well. So there's a lot of like referee shenanigans there. Yeah.
Yeah, Arn's thrown out for lobbing the guy into the pole. Isn't he?
And he throws, he kicks out Mitch, the manager, as well. The cheerleader for the cheerleaders.
Yeah, there you go. Sergeant Slaughter is then in with Dolph or Nicky, and he exchanges a few moves with him. But then there's a big pop because Dusty Rhodes tags in, and even as far as the entrances, I mean, Flair does his thing, and Arn does his thing, I suppose, because Arn's thing was always just walking to the ring, chucking 4 fingers in the air. But Dusty Rhodes comes out and does a bit of a dance and a bit of a strut. And the guy's obviously very advanced age at this point in his career, but charisma's charisma, mate. He's just great, isn't he, Dusty Rhodes?
It's just the greatest hits, isn't it? He doesn't need much ring time. Just go in there, a few bionic elbows, a bit of strutting. Yeah, and the crowd ate it up. Absolutely ate it up. Yeah. And props to Dolph. He sells like a champ for Slaughter, for Dusty, and for Ric Flair. He probably works the best to give props to the older guys. And I've thought that was a really good move by him.
Yeah. Flair then tags in. I mean, it's odd as well for a start, having Flair and Dusty on the same side of all the rivalries they had. That was quite unique. And JR actually also comments on Dusty and Arn Anderson being aligned with each other. He says he doesn't think that's ever happened before. Going back to the Jim Crockett days and so on. Flair then just starts lighting people up with chops, and it's just great, isn't it? Because again, like you said, you're spot on when you say it's just the greatest hits, and this is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it didn't need to be anything more than this. It would have ruined it, but the Legends got the chance to have one last kind of match. I mean, for Ric Flair, not one last match. The guy was still wrestling 16 years after this, which is fucking. It just beggars belief, but it gives the fans the chance to see these wrestlers doing what they were known for, and it was just fun nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. Sergeant Slaughter's back in. He applies the Cobra Clutch on Nikki, who passes out, but he's rescued by a kick to the head and gets pinned. So he's now out. And we then get quite a few quick eliminations, don't we? Because it is a 4-on-4 match and it only goes for 10 minutes. We kind of know this is going to be the way, don't we?
This is once we start getting those eliminations going, yeah, they fall thick and fast because these guys have nursing homes to go to, so got to get them out.
Nursing homes. Dusty comes in and drops an elbow drop on the unconscious Nikki and pins him straight away.
Yep.
We then get Dusty in the wrong corner and he gets beaten up a little bit by the team, the Spirit Squad in the corner there, before he starts walking it off, as JR says on commentary. And it's almost like
just walking it off is brilliant.
It's almost like a Dusty Rhodes version of hulking up, I guess. It's just a wobbly.
JR says the flip flop and fly. That's how JR calls it. Yeah, it's essentially he's had a bit of cramp and he's just he's walking it off, even though Kenny's doing his best to look like he's hurting Dusty. Dusty's just he's ultimate warrior in him, just selling.
He is indeed. But that doesn't last long though, because Kenny does manage to get the better of Dusty, rolls him up and pins him and eliminates the American Dream there.
Pulling on the American Dream's genes to win.
Yes.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably more so trying to help Dusty pull them up, because did you notice how often he had to put his own jeans up during this match? It's like, Dusty, buy a belt. Do you know what I mean?
He had a belt. The best thing is he had a belt. It's just it didn't go around his waist. It went under his paunch.
Yeah. This leaves Ric Flair on his own now.
And doesn't Kenny let him know that it's on his own? 3 and 1. 3 and 1.
Yeah. Also, you hear Kenny as well screaming. I should have brought this up a few moments ago when Dusty was in the ring, because he screams at Dusty, "You old son of a bitch." And it's like really clear. It's
there's another one as well. I think it's fairly early on, and I think it's Mitch who says it, but you can hear on the audio, "Kick his ass."
Oh dear. Flair pins Mikey with his feet on the rope, because Flair is, even when people are cheering for him, the dirtiest player in the game. And then very quickly manages to get an inside cradle counter to a backdrop, which seemed to go in slow motion to pin Kenny, which I thought, okay, fair enough. It did what it needed to do, Magsy, didn't it?
It did. But this was, I think they mentioned it in the intros that Flair had only ever been in one other Survivor Series, and that was obviously in 1991.
Yes.
And he was the sole survivor then. And Flair was clearly going to be, seeing as he was still the only active wrestler on the Legends side, he was going to be the sole survivor in this one. So we needed Flair to come up against all the odds to win this. But yeah, that the backdrop and inside cradle, it was like he was swimming through honey or something. It was just so slow. I mean, he looked old 16 years ago. And yet he's still wrestling now. I don't understand it.
I paid for that pay-per-view, mate.
Yeah, we all did, sir. We all did.
And just in different ways
than
one. This leaves us 1v1. Ric Flair works the leg of Johnny for a while, setting up for the figure 4, which he eventually sinks on. Johnny taps. Flair survives. He's the sole survivor. And then we just get a massive beatdown. The Spirit Squad come back and kick Flair's ass. And nobody comes out to help him.
Nobody at all. They just beat the living shit out of him. And at least we do get to see the flying leg drop.
Yes.
But yeah, they just beat the living piss out of him. Ridiculous. And nobody saved him. That's shocking.
I didn't get that at all, but there we go. And that was that, really. So Flair won the match, but the Spirit Squad walk away, I suppose, still looking strong. So they just kicked the piss out of the old guy at the end. Yeah, that's
And
kind
Scottish
of it,
Danny
Maxie.
says in the chat, sadly, this was their last hurrah. The gimmick will be killed off a few weeks after this. Actually, it was quicker than that. I think it was the next night that Ric Flair comes out on Raw and the Spirit Squad. He says you couldn't beat me, but you beat me after the match. But come and fight me now. I've got my friends. And it ends up being 5-on-3 Spirit Squad versus Flair and DX, which Shawn Michaels and Triple
Okay.
H. And this is the match where they beat the living piss out of the Spirit Squad and then chuck them into a travel case and stick a sticker on saying return to OVW.
Brilliant. I may go watch that.
It was actually one of this actual storyline and this actual kind of like end to it was one of the reasons why Jim Cornette fell out with Vince because he obviously was running OVW as like a developmental brand, and his issue was that they brought these people up from developmental, saddled them with a gimmick that didn't work, and then sent them back down to OVW with this gimmick. Yeah, so Jim was not a happy bunny about it.
I bet he was not short of putting forth his opinion either, was he? He's quite keen.
Certainly not. He's shot on that quite a few times.
There we go. So then, Magsy, what are we thinking to summarize and your rating out of 10?
Okay, so is this a classic? No. Did I remember any of it after watching it 16 years ago? No. But it wasn't. It wasn't terrible. It was. No. It was fun for the nostalgia. It's shithead heels versus some of the bigger stars of wrestling's yesteryear. It was great seeing Dusty in the ring. It was great seeing Ric Flair in the ring at this time, I suppose. I think Sarge looked really good to say he hadn't wrestled for a while. Yeah, it was fun. It's nothing to write home about. I'm not going to remember it tomorrow, but I enjoyed the 10 minutes or so of this match. So I think this is it's a 6 for me. Better than average.
There you go. You can see right there. I've got 6 as well. Look at that.
Amazing. See, great minds think alike.
I totally agree. It's just a bit of fun. It's a bit of nostalgia. And the comment you made of it's guys going through their greatest hits, and that's all you want when you see these guys wrestle, isn't it? You don't want to see, Dusty Rhodes or Ron Simmons or anyone like that going 45 minutes at this point in their career. Of course, it's exactly what it needed to be. The young lads bumped around for them. Yeah, exactly.
And props again to Dolph. His selling was absolutely spot on. But yeah, you see the big moves that made the wrestlers the wrestlers made famous in for a few minutes at a time, and out you go. Yeah, I thought it did what it needed to do.
Yeah, fair enough. So now then, this is going to be interesting because of all the options we have in front of us. Magsy, where would you like to go next week if the CWF vote for your poll option?
Okay. So for me, this was a pretty simple link, to be fair. I understand that there's plenty of ways we could go, but there was one that was instantly in my mind, and that was the match that I was going to go for until I saw the card that it was on. So initially, my link was going to be Dolph Ziggler. Obviously, he was the breakout star of the Spirit Squad, multiple-time Intercontinental Champion, 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. And I wanted to go and visit the match that basically led to him being the World Champion when he won the 2012 Money in the Bank.
Okay.
And then I had a little peek down the card of Money in the Bank 2012, I think it was. And there's a match on there that it just draws you in when you see it. It's a no disqualification match for the WWE title. It's CM Punk as champion taking on Daniel Bryan
Why? Okay.
with AJ Lee as the special guest referee.
Bloody hell. Okay. Well, I'll tell you now, that's going to win the poll, hands down. Oh, man. That's two guys I absolutely love. Punk and Daniel Bryan. Absolutely fantastic wrestlers.
And it goes almost half an hour. So plenty of wrestling in there.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. Money in the Bank 2012. No DQ as well. So that makes it interesting.
Yes.
Because we've seen a Bryan Punk match before, I think, but it wasn't no DQ. It was a straight wrestling match, and that was very good.
Was it from Ring of Honor? Was it that one?
Maybe. Yeah. But
the Ring of Honor one was Samoa Joe. We saw Ring of Honor.
Okay.
I'm gonna whilst you're saying your pick, I'm gonna pull up the very freshened wrestling
updated Excel file. Yeah, okay. I do need to get on that. It's just
and it was episode 81 was the last time you updated it.
So that's that. 30 episodes. That's all right. I can do that. 30 episodes aren't too bad. It's just such a big job.
Versus Sting on Nitro was the topic that we were covering.
Okay. Yeah, that is a while back, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Jesus God.
Struth. Okay. My choice is, what do you mean, yeah?
I was just going to say we have seen Punk versus Bryan Over the Limit 2012.
Ah, there you go. But that was fantastic. We both rated that really highly. So that'll be the same feud. And this is a no DQ with special referee. So that'd be really interesting tying back in with the old episode that we did there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okie doke, no worries. My choice is pretty straightforward, and it will be no surprise to anyone that I'm going to go back into the 80s, back into Jim Crockett Promotions, back into
fucking excuse.
Well, the thing is, it's easy for us to talk about wrestling that is fresh in the memory. I mean, 2012 is 11 years ago. It's maybe not that fresh, but it's guys we still see wrestle present day and so on. And I like to try and think that sometimes if people, vote for the older options that I put forward, they may uncover something they enjoy. And I'm trying to sort of open people's eyes to how great wrestling was back in the day. It's not all flips and tricks. There's a lot more to it than that, Mm-hmm. Cam Griffin in the chat there saying, back in time for the poll picks. Come on, Si, don't let me down, Gilbert. Not this week, my friend. Not this week. But I'll tell you what, I will have a think and see what I can figure out for a future episode. How's that? I'll just spring it on you as a surprise. My choice is going to be one of the probably biggest main events Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, etc., put forward. It's a hated heel and one of the most popular baby faces of all time in probably the last big run of the guy's career in that territory before darting off to, be sporting polka dots for a couple of years. I would like to go back to Starrcade 1985 and have a look at the main event for the world title. A young and fantastic Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes in the height of his popularity. And this, you think, we're talking charisma and, being a fan favorite. You see Dusty in that era, it's a different level. So, yeah, Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes, World Championship, Starrcade 1985 is my option.
Great pick.
They have had a better match than that, but on the network, it hasn't got commentary. And I thought I might be pushing my luck a little bit far with that.
I mean, why could you not watch a match without commentary?
Yeah, I could. But if people
are you saying I couldn't?
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying that some people who watch the show may not. I put forward 1980s wrestling. It's not something that inspires them straight away. If I then add, there's no commentary, it might be a case of,
Yeah, but a lot of the times we watch the matches, so these amazing people don't have to. We're doing a service.
This is true.
But you've said what you've said now, so you're not changing.
No, I'm not changing. Fair enough. If it wins, I'll link to it next. No, I won't. So those are your options for the poll this week, which will be out later in the week. Money in the Bank 2012, no disqualification for the WWE Championship. CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan with a special guest referee of AJ Lee. And My option is Starrcade 1985 World Championship match between Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. Again, make sure you're voting, retweeting, and all that good stuff. Magsy, should we have a quick scan through the chat before we depart?
Yes, we shall. Scottish Danny says the Spirit Squad needed to keep their heat, brother, yet for that extra 24 hours before they were packed off. Sharon says if CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan wins, she's not going to listen next week. That's mean. Good. I like how you muted yourself.
I'm a knobhead. She hates Punk so much now because of the all the stuff with the Elite and AEW and all that. My wife absolutely despises CM Punk now.
So fun fact for Sharon then. Punk was at the Battle in the Valley event that New Japan had on this weekend. So it looks like he may be coming back to wrestling in some form. But we'll see about that. Oh, on that show as well, Sasha Banks won a title, didn't she?
Yes.
She beat Kairi Sane. So,
yes.
Yep, she's well in the New Japan world now. Cam says, back in time for the picks. Come on, sir, don't let me down. Gilbert, unfortunately not, mate. Nope, wrong Scottish Danny. For fuck's sake. Yes, it's 85's wrestling again, guys. Yeah, unfortunately.
I took that as fuck's sake because I said no Gilbert this week.
No, you can take it like that. And it probably was meant for that, but I'm taking it like fuck's sake, 80s wrestling. Scottish Danny saying he watches every Monday afternoon.
Oh,
and then laughs. I mean, it's the first 5 of those words. Yeah, it's really kind of, we appreciate it. Then the laugh at the end, like, ha ha. It's just really kind of soured me now. I don't know. We appreciate you, Danny. We appreciate every single one of you who tune in. You are absolutely amazing. Cam says, and a fantastic service as well, chaps. Although I did go watch the Taker and Boss match. That was sharp. It was
very bad.
Good. Scottish Danny says, I'm with you, Sharon. Look at them teaming up. Not good at all. No. And Cam says, I was right. For fuck's sake, 80s wrestling. Yay.
Honestly, have I steered you wrong with my picks, Cameron? Have I steered you wrong with my picks, Cam? You're on Twitter saying I just watched this match, so I suggested it's very good. And here you are calling me out on the show. It hurts my feelings.
Cam, he picked the Booker T and Scott Steiner match. Let's remember that. And also the Sting versus Meng match as well.
Was that me?
I didn't fucking know about that match. Of course it was you.
Fair enough. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us again in the chat and all your tweets and comments and so on. It's hugely appreciated. You are all absolutely fantastic. Magsy, do you want to let people know whereabouts they can find you online if you so wish?
Absolutely. And again, I want to reiterate just how amazing you guys are for tuning in every week and all the support and getting involved in the polls and the non-wrestling topics. You are superstars, and we will never not appreciate you guys. Thank you very, very much for all that. Saying all that, if you do want to follow me, it's down here. There on Twitter. I don't ever really check on it. I've actually had to check on it this week because I've been talking with Steve about potentially being on his show for a guest spot. But yeah, normally I'm not on Twitter at all. But follow me anyway at PodFatherMags, or follow me on TikTok. I think that's at Mags All Pods. Don't really go on there either. So don't follow me. I'm not either away.
He won't notice. You can follow me, well, anything I'm involved in, really. You want to check out the network that covers this show at SJP World Media on Facebook and Twitter. And what's really, really important to us is that you are following and subscribed to the YouTube channel here. Make sure you're following there and you're subscribed and so on, so you get little notifications when we go live and all that good stuff. And also on all your podcast players, platforms, providers, etc. Apple, Google, Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed to there as well. You're following there. And if you see fit, it would be fantastic for us if you would give us a big fat 5-star positive review, because we are bloody fantastic. And it really does help with our, I think it's called algorithms, Magsy, isn't it? When people search for different things and so on.
It is.
So that's hugely appreciated. I mean, each show on the network has its own separate stream, as well as the main SJP World Media stream as well. So, for example, using Nitro Nights as the example, that's got its own stream there. You can go back and listen to the whole back catalogue on that one and review that one. Or you've got the main feed as well. It's hugely beneficial to the network. And also, I urge you to check out the merchandise store. The link to that is all over our social medias. There's sales all the bloody time. They're constantly running different sales left, right, and centre. There's loads of new designs up again, and t-shirts, hoodies. There's like 15 different colors you can pick them in, and so on. By doing that, you're supporting the network. By supporting the network, it means it's easier for us to provide you with these shows. Buying yourself a t-shirt, treating yourself to a hoodie or a mug or something like that, we get a couple of quid kickback. It goes towards paying for the stuff that we run the network on. So it's hugely, hugely appreciated if you do that. Thank you so much. But most importantly, you can follow this show on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I got that the wrong way around, didn't I? Fuck me, I've only done it like 100 times. I'll try that again, shall I? No, I won't. Sod it. At @chain_wrestling on all of those. And make sure, again, you are following, liking, retweeting, and all that great stuff. Magsy, I'm off now to watch the other Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair match and provide my own commentary, because I can. I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Sar going into business for himself.